Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to start the second part of my January vlog, so this will be like the second and last part of that. I already uploaded my first part, so the videos won't be too long anymore. Currently my reading is not going so well, to be honest. I wish I had more time, but I've been really busy. So today is already the 20th, even though technically I wanted to start this vlog on the 17th, but I didn't get around to reading or to updating this. So I'm currently reading Luck of the Titanic by Stacey. This is a historical fiction retelling of the Titanic, and we're following a Chinese-British girl who sneaked her way onto the ship to find this very rich man and to convince him that she should be part of his circus. We have also some family drama because she also is trying to find her brother, who she is afraid she will lose touch with. And so we have, you know, these like very interesting storylines, but then also it's a Titanic. So I am now very close to the end. So we have hit the iceberg, and honestly, I was like so afraid to read that part because, you know, you don't want to see these characters die, obviously, but there's a pretty big chance. So yeah, I was a bit hesitant to keep reading when I thought that it might happen soon, but then I participated in some reading sprints and finally made it into that like very stressful part of the book. But then I had to stop reading because, as I said, I've been super busy, so yeah, I unfortunately couldn't finish the book when I had the flow. And now I will have to find out tonight who survives. So that will be quite tragic. This book does read quite YA, but I am enjoying it. I do like the main character. Her name is Valora, and she is very, I don't want to say cunning, but she's definitely a bit of a trickster. She can swindle her way into situations. As I said, she is an acrobat, so she wants to join this circus. And she also has this very interesting friendship with one of the rich girls, because that one, she's a lesbian and she's also a clothes designer, and she gets Valora to wear some of her clothes because Valora is basically pretending to be her former boss who has passed away, but the people of the ship don't know that. So yeah, definitely an interesting storyline. But as I said, since you know what's gonna happen at the end, I always have that problem that I'm just waiting for it to happen, and then when it actually started happening, so when the moment was that they hit the iceberg, I could not stop reading. I was like, oh my god, I need to find out what's happening. So I feel like the beginning of the book was like a good 3.5-star read, but now the ending might be, you know, bumping this book up for me because yeah, it was really rough to read about these characters. Apart from that, I'm currently listening to Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier, and I'm sharing a separate vlog for that, so you can check that out whenever it's uploaded. And that's my reading right now. So not very much, not very successful so far, but I'll keep you updated, and hopefully next week we can read more, I don't know. So today's the 21st of January. I will have my hair appointment today, which you can see I desperately need. And last night I finally finished Luck of the Titanic by Stacey. I decided to give this a strong 3.5 stars, like more like 3.75. I feel like in the end it just didn't do enough for me to give it 4 stars. But yeah, maybe it would have been different if I read it a little bit quicker. But since I had to take it quite slow, I don't know. I feel like there is a lot in this book, especially discussing the way Chinese people were marginalized during the 1910s and probably before and after as well. And yeah, that was like very interesting, but I feel like it could have done a bit more. I don't know. But then on the other hand, it was quite well portrayed, I guess. It is a bit difficult to judge from my point of view, obviously, but I thought it was an interesting aspect, and I really liked that the author, Stacey Lee, also talks about the Chinese people who were actually on the Titanic and what happened to them as well in a little foreword and an author's note at the end. So that was definitely something I loved. I think the characters were quite interesting, but I feel like the ending didn't touch me as much as it did other people, and I'm not quite sure if it is because I didn't read this book fast enough, so I was like really into it, or whether the characters were just lacking a bit for me because this is written for a younger audience, and then sometimes it's harder for me to make a connection to these characters. And I also feel like these themes of like twins and being brother and sister and stuff like that, for one, they're not, touching me so much because I don't have real siblings. So I can't really connect to those feelings. And then I also feel like it lacked a little bit there. But I think if you enjoy reading about sibling dynamics, this is more up your alley. So I would highly recommend this book. Just going in, having the expectation that this is written for a younger audience, and maybe it will not give some things the room and the detail that an adult reader might look for. And then I finally started reading Pet by Akwaeke Emezi, and I'm so excited to finally read this book. I've had it checked out from the library for a while now, and I have been interested in the author's books for a long time. Now, I think Pet is like a very soft way into their writing, because I think their adult fiction and also their memoir that came out last year are definitely harder to understand, I guess, and more radical concepts, maybe. I don't know. I haven't read them, but I'm very much intrigued. So I think Pet is easing me into their work. And in Pet, we follow a girl. Her name is Jam, I think. And she is trans, and she's also selectively mute. So that's very interesting to read about. And I love how it is written into the story in a very natural, very just normalized way. I really enjoy that. And one day her mother creates a painting, and there is a little accident, and the thing that is in the painting becomes real and is Pet, basically. So that's where the title comes from. And so I think Jam and Pet are gonna hunt a monster now. And I don't know if this would be like fantasy or more of a like utopia dystopia thing, because basically this is set in a world where there's no more monsters. And what that means is basically that this is kind of like the world that the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, was fighting for. So fighting corruption in the government and creating a world where there's no monsters taking advantage of other people and stuff like that. And I really like the way they talk about these monsters, how Jem, who is very like interested in them, and also in the angels who are now like the government, I guess, because she asks a lot of questions. And for example, she asks what these monsters look like, and the answer she gets is that they don't look like anything, because you can't really tell from the looks of them that they're monsters. So I really like this. I am 25% in right now, so 50 pages. It's a very short book, and I fell in love with this writing instantly. It's so good, and I have a little bit of a hard time deciding what kind of age category this would be for me, because I thought it would be more children's fiction, but it is YA, I believe. There are a couple of cuss words, and I think that Jem is already like 16 or something like that. But she reads a bit younger and quite innocent. So yeah, really loving this so far. Today is the 25th of January, and on the weekend I finished reading Pat, and I decided to give it 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book, and it was honestly perfect for me. This is, yeah, just a really interesting book. I don't remember what I said about it because the last few days have been like really busy, and I've had a migraine for all of the weekend, but that also speaks to the quality of the book, that I was reading it while I had a migraine and I still loved it. It's just such an interesting exploration of the way we have to stay vigilant, especially when it comes to the safety of children, and I think that the way this was written and dealt with was perfect. It's a very short book, so I don't think you should know too much going into it, but yeah, I just really enjoyed it and I would highly recommend it, but I'm probably not the first person you heard who said that, so just pick it up. So today is the 29th of January and I managed to read the first 100 pages in the Map of Salt and Stars, and this book is definitely surprising me. This is a book that has a dual timeline perspective, so you're following a American Syrian girl in 2011, but you also follow a kind of medieval setting with a different girl who's dressing up as a boy to be a apprentice of a map maker. And I thought that this would be more like historical fiction, but it's definitely more contemporary because the storyline of the girl in 2011 is much more prevalent, and the other one is like a story in a story basically. But I am enjoying this book. It is quite fast moving, I feel like, and at the same time not. I don't know how to describe it, but I felt like the beginning was a tiny little bit slow, but then things start happening like really fast, and I basically finished the first part. I think this book has 5 parts in total, and so the first part is set in Syria itself, and the basic story is that we have this girl. What's her name? It doesn't say on the back, and I'm so bad. Oh, it's Noor. And she has Syrian parents, but she herself was born in America where they had worked, but then her father died because of cancer, and the mother decides to take the family back to Syria, and so they moved back in 2011, and they moved to I never know how to say this city, but Homs. So that is, I think, the city where the conflict in Syria really started. And we're basically following this family now, trying to get to safety after the conflicts begin. And basically their house is shelled and destroyed. So yeah, as I said, the first part is set in Syria. Now they have reached the next kind of country they're fleeing to. So I'm intrigued to see where this goes. I do think that I enjoy the historical storyline more, but that's just because I love these kind of stories, like these kind of medieval Arab stories that are kind of like 1001 Night inspired. I love them so much. I think it's so interesting to see what an amazing kind of culture and knowledge and just form of society existed in the Arab world in the Middle Ages, especially compared to like medieval Europe, which was a very nasty place, I believe. So yeah, I definitely enjoy that. And what I thought was interesting when I started Googling around for this book, because I wanted to check whether there's a German translation so I can give it to my mom, because I think she would really enjoy this. And I was confused because the German edition has a different author name. And so I was Googling around a little bit, and the author of this book is actually a trans non-binary author, and the author is American Syrian themselves. So I thought that was very interesting as well. So this copy is an old library copy, so it holds their dead name basically. If you look up new copies of this book, you should see the actual name. So just if you're, you know, confused or something like that, I thought I mentioned that. Yeah, so that's what I'm currently reading. I don't think I will finish it in January though, because yeah, my reading has been really slow. And then with my audiobook, The Daughter of the Forest, I finally got over the like really nasty bits where a lot of like really bad things are happening to the main character. I hope that now we get a nice extended happy ending. We'll see. I think I have 4 hours of the audiobook left now, and on Sunday, so tomorrow, there's gonna be like a buddy read for this book, so I might join that and maybe finish it. I'm not quite sure yet, because usually I do have like very specific moments where I listen to my audiobook, and yeah, that's usually not during the weekend, so we'll see. Maybe I will finish it in January, and maybe I won't.
Mit einem Buch bei leicht gedimmtem Licht.
Du bist gedimmtes Licht.
So today's the 30th of January, and I'm now 200 pages into the Map of Salt and Stars. I have just finished reading part 2. So part 1 and part 2 are definitely the longest ones, and then the other parts are a bit shorter. And part 2 was definitely heart-wrenching. A lot of things happened that I didn't really see coming. We still have that kind of duo timeline happening between Ramia and... no, that's not the name. Ravia and Noor. And the focus is still on Noor's story for sure. But they have this very like parallel way of being told. And I think that's kind of like the point, that they are, you know, happening kind of in a parallel style. But yeah, we have some character deaths that I did not see coming, especially the first one. The second one you do see coming and you can kind of prepare, but the first one really is like so sudden. I didn't even really know how to feel about it. I was just sitting there being like, no. So yeah, definitely heart-wrenching. There's a lot of horrible things happening in part 2, which you would expect, because this is in the now timeline mainly a refugee story, and obviously those are never easy or happy or you know, not filled with horrible things happening. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Maybe you should look up some content warnings if you want to pick. So I am still enjoying this book and I would definitely recommend it, but right now I feel like it's not gonna be a new favorite book, and that's mainly because of Noor's perspective. Noor is a child, and as a child she doesn't really have a lot of empathy yet. She doesn't really understand that the people around her have their own reasons and their own way of dealing with trauma and stuff like that. And that's just something I don't enjoy in a character. But yeah, I think apart from that, this is definitely a good book. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. I still have 3 parts left. So January is finally over, officially over, and I wanted to quickly close off this vlog. I'm still in the middle of part 3 in the map of stars, no, salt and stars. So this one I will finish in February, and I'm still enjoying it, but I haven't really read much since I updated you last, so not really much to say. And then with my audiobook, The Daughter of the Forest, I have 3.5 hours left, so I will also finish that in the beginning of February now. I'm also enjoying that one still, so yeah, not much else to say, I guess. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. If you did, leave a like or nice comment, I always appreciate those. And if you subscribe, I will talk to you soon, probably with a February TBR or a final wrap up for January.